Today we're going to be looking at our Redneck Ghillie Blind. We bought our first one last year. We got to use it for the season. We bought another one this year with the metal tower. I want to go over with you guys putting it together, how that kind of process goes, what we like and don't like, and touch on the tower maybe a little bit as well, and give you guys a good idea if it's going to fit for you or not. All right, we're out here at the blind. This is our one that we had last year. Built a wooden tower for it. You can see up there the structure. It's really well put together by Redneck. Obviously, you need to assemble the Ghillie Blind. It does not come put together like the fiberglass. The joints all have nice bolts in it, and it's quite sturdy. I mean, you couldn't throw all your weight into it, of course, but I mean, for a blind, the structure is one of the positive things about this Ghillie. Being said with that, one of the negatives would be moving the blind. It's definitely more of a permanent structure. You're not going to probably take it on public land with you. However, leaving it somewhere, especially private land, wanting it to be sturdy and not paying that premium price tag for our fiberglass is one of the reasons why we keep going to use this Ghillie. It's probably oftentimes a quarter, a sixth, maybe even an eighth of a price if you're looking at them with the towers. So we have a cover right here, and we're going to go ahead, we're going to walk that up, throw it on, and then we also have these window sliders. And I'm going to show you how they work and kind of how this goes together as best I can, maybe do a time lapse and kind of break things down. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to mention is what you can do on the ground. This was just a cheap 6x8 foot rug. It's supposed to be indoor outdoor, so we'll see how long it lasts. We did not use it last year, I just got it, but I'm going to throw that underneath. The cage right now is basically bolted into the platform. I just put 4 in, and I'll tell you, last year opening day we had 40-50 mile an hour winds plus. It did not move, so I'm going to unbolt it real quick, throw this down, and then we will kind of get everything situated, and the last thing we'll do is probably bolt it back down into the platform through the rug and see how it goes. So here we go. Alright guys, we just got the cover on. I did do it by myself, so it can be a one-man job. You got to be a little more careful when you're 10 feet up on a platform that you built. But it went perfectly fine. The shell can move a little bit, but it's fairly heavy, so it's fairly sturdy. I only had to shuffle it back into place once or twice to get this on. Now, a couple things to keep in mind with this cover. Alright, we got it situated. There are about 4, I know I opened up the window, so I'm sorry if there's not enough light, but I'm trying. There are 4 basically just straight vertical zippers, and if you need more slack, you can loosen them. But once you get the cover on, you can just tighten them down, so that way it really cinches better on the shell. All right, you have a nice big door. All right, covers will be by the ladder, a small window on the door. You have vertical windows, which do open up a little more, and you have them in each corner. And then you have the horizontal windows, which are still plenty big enough. These still can probably be opened up a tiny more for shooting the bow and stuff like that. So don't think that, you have to have it exactly a certain way. However, before we tighten this down at the end, I will position it so we can, clean up our shooting lanes and kind of have these exactly where we want them. Next thing we're really going to do is find all of these Velcro straps. They're going to go around the bars. All right, so that's going to really kind of cinch it down around the shell. And then after these Velcro, there's going to be these, let's see if I can find one here. these essentially, it's kind of like a bungee, and we're gonna wrap it around here, and then you'll see some screws like this that are not all the way in. And so we're gonna tighten each one, wrap it around the bar, and just tighten it to those screws so it's nice and taut. And really, it's not gonna go anywhere once those are down. So I'll get that going, and then we'll maybe cover a couple more things, and you guys should have a good idea about what this blind's like. Couple of things on these Velcro straps. One thing that was really cool that you can tell was fairly well thought out was that the Velcro was either way. So whatever way you do it, you don't have to fiddle with going a certain direction, or if your fingers are tight in one corner. So that is pretty helpful. They are along the bottom. One little trick to use something, I used gloves to shove under there to give your fingers a little more room. If you have another person, that works well too, but sometimes it's just very hard to try and lift and do all this at the same time, and this will just make your life a lot easier. One of the other quick things is when it comes to these little bungees I was showing you that hook to the screw, some of them just go under and will hook to one just up the main pole there. So there's a couple different versions, and then there are these Velcro around the bottom. That is going to secure it very tight. If you've used other ground blinds, you know, the ones you can get for 100, 200, 300, whatever, and you put the poles in and they're still kind of flappy, they move. I just found stakes this past turkey season that actually work well and keep them in the ground, but none of that was an issue here, and shouldn't be for the foreseeable future. I believe I have read too that when these do wear, the cover should be good for 5 or so years, leaving it out every year. We did take this off. I don't know if I'll take it off every year, but it would be interesting to contact or do a little more research, because I don't think I saw them on their website, and see what the price would be just for the cover, to keep these going for years and years. So one of the last things we're doing is putting these screens on. They work pretty well. There's just these simple little clips, and you go around the bar, clip that in, other side around the bar, then you go to the bottom. They're just stretchy straight through one side, clip around the bar, clip around the bar. Now, you want to be on the inside of these bars. If you do all this and have to redo it, you're going to be a little upset. So stay on the inside. The reason for that is if you move this over to the outside, this is not going to slide very well. See how easy that is? Super nice, and these just run through the side here. Okay, so you can bring these down. Now, I'm not necessarily going to have these up for windows that, let's say, I plan on shooting out of. I'm going to possibly leave them up maybe where I just want to be able to see if a deer is going to come, and I don't want the deer to be able to see through or see light out on the other side of the blind, and then I won't have them on my shooting windows. That way it still stays dark in here and I can stay fairly concealed. So I do like these, and I do put them all up, and there is one for every window. Lastly, really, I wanted to touch on is all this fun stuff right here. There is plenty on the blind. Do not hesitate to cut these, or you're going to be aggravated quite a bit. Outside of mobility is the only thing that you know, is a little out there on the blind. However, it's really not that big of a deal, and I get it. It's called the Ghillie Blind. That's the whole purpose, but you will be saving yourself a lot of hassle, time, and potentially noise if you just take some scissors or shears or clippers, whatever, and trim some of this around just for the zippers. There's plenty else around the blind. It's still going to be nice and hidden, but I'm going to go ahead and trim those so they're not getting stuck every time I zip the blind. Every window does have 2 zippers. Personally, if you want to get a little bit deeper, I like to put both of them up at the top. That way, if I get into the blind, I'm not trying to use a flashlight. I don't want to be a beacon of light out here for the deer to know that today I'm hunting and I'm in this blind. I put them both at the top, so excuse me. So when I turn off my light, I can kind of feel around for these zippers. I can go to the top, and I know I can just take them both and go as quiet as I can. Now, if you do use 2 hands, you can be fairly quiet. But if I was to ever purchase a redneck as kind of as a fiberglass redneck, as sad as it sounds, I would be mostly buying it, a lot of it, for not having to do any zippers. Because if you get up here, let's say I want to do just these front windows, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 windows I need to zip and make some noise for. And if there's anything pretty close to this blind, there's only so much you can do. They're not, you know, the absolute quietest like closed zippers. I think you can do it fairly quiet and slowly, but that's another, you know, a couple minutes and it's still a little bit of sound. So bear that in mind. I'm going to trim this up. Floor looks pretty good, pretty dang quiet. I'm going to put the rest of these on, and then I'm going to bring the chairs into the blind, and this is set. Bolt it down, and we're good to go. Not going to be here for a while. I hope that helps you guys if you were considering a ghillie blind. It gives you a good rundown, kind of what it's like to set up, how it is structurally. It really is nice and tight. It's not going to flap around. It looks great. You know, they did a pretty dang good job for the price, so could even be getting another one of these. Now bear in mind, if you do want to move it a little, even on your own land, they do make a sled for the bottom. You can put it on a sled, drag it around the property, which is nice, or you can get one of the towers. If you saw one of my other videos, you kind of saw the 10-foot tower just real briefly. It was a little bit of a nuisance to set up. It was just my wife and I, so it was pretty difficult. We didn't have a lot of manpower. If you have a few guys, it could definitely help. If you have any tractor or something like that, that could also really help. Remember, the legs stick outward, so it's not like you can just lay it perfectly flat. It's a little bit of a pain, those legs, you know, sticking upward, rolling the blind if you want to, putting the legs on. Hoisting it up was not bad. Did it pretty easily with my 3,000-pound ATV winch and the ladder method, which they have some videos on the website, hoisting it up with the ladder to kind of angle the winch upward. So that worked pretty well. We did also move it 15 feet or so with 4 guys, just each leg picking it up. I'm shocked there's no video of the rednecks of people just moving it, 4 people, 1 on each leg, and lifting it up. You can do it. It's not that heavy with four guys. So bear that in mind as well. If I was doing stuff again and I still was just going to be doing a lot of things myself, I would strongly consider just doing the 5-foot tower and not the 10-foot tower. But if you're like me, obviously it does help to be a little bit higher. So that's all for today, guys. Again, I hope it helps. If you're liking these videos, please hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.